Let me begin with a truth that might feel uncomfortable. The world doesn't ignore you. It simply doesn't need you yet. And here is another one. You are not underpaid. You are underpositioned. That sentence may sound harsh, but it is not an insult. It is liberation. Because if the problem is not luck, not talent, not your past, then the solution is in your hands. Most people believe income is connected to effort. They say, I work so hard. I deserve more. But the market does not reward effort. It rewards solved problems. You are not paid for how tired you are. You are paid for how useful you are. This is the economic reframe. Income equals value multiplied by visibility. If your value is low, income is low. If your value is high, but no one sees it, income is still low. Both matter. But value comes first. Effort is invisible. Value is measurable. Time is not money. If time were money, every person working 8 hours would earn the same. But they don't. A surgeon earns more than a cashier in the same hour. Why? Not because the surgeon works harder physically, but because the surgeon solves a rarer, more expensive problem. Value creates money. Time only organizes it. Now let's apply a simple economic principle. Supply and demand. When a skill is common, it is cheap. When a skill is rare and useful, it becomes expensive. If millions of people can replace you tomorrow, your market value stays low. If only a small percentage of people can deliver what you deliver with excellence, your value rises automatically. The market does not reward personality. It rewards scarcity combined with usefulness. This is not cruel. This is neutral. If you feel invisible, it does not mean you are worthless. It means the market has not yet identified you as rare. And rarity is built, not wished. Many people spend years complaining about unfair systems. But systems respond to value. Companies respond to results. Clients respond to solutions. Audiences respond to clarity. The question is not, why am I not appreciated? The better question is, what problem do I solve better than most people? Because respect follows usefulness. You can be kind, honest, and hardworking. But if your skill set is average, your income and opportunities will reflect that. This is not about becoming cold or competitive. It is about becoming competent. Think about it clearly. If you could save a company $10,000 a month, they would pay you well. If you could generate revenue, improve efficiency, create strategy, communicate powerfully, or solve technical problems, doors would open. The world pays for leverage. And here is the empowering part. Value can be built. It is not inherited. It is not fixed at birth. It is not limited to your degree or your background. Value grows when skill meets discipline and is presented strategically. In this video, I will show you 5 pillars to increase your personal value. Not empty motivation. Not fantasy thinking. Practical systems you can apply immediately. And as you listen, you are doing something powerful. You are improving your English while upgrading your economic mindset at the same time. That is value stacking. You are not here just to feel inspired. You are here to become more useful, more skilled, more respected, and eventually more rewarded. Remember this clearly. If you want more income, more respect, more opportunities, increase your value. If value is the currency, then rarity is the multiplier. Let me explain something powerful from psychology. There is a principle called the scarcity principle, popularized by researcher Robert Cialdini. In simple terms, people assign higher value to things that are limited. Rare equals respected. When something is always available, always accessible, always saying yes, the brain automatically lowers its perceived importance. Not consciously, automatically. Think about it. A product labeled limited edition feels more desirable. A fully booked consultant feels more credible. A person who protects their time feels more important. Availability reduces perceived importance. This applies to objects. It applies to services. And it applies to you. If you are always available for everyone, always replying instantly, always saying yes to requests, always adjusting your schedule for others, the world interprets that as low demand. And low demand equals low perceived value. This is not about ego. It is about positioning psychology. Now let's talk about boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are value signals. When you say no respectfully, you communicate self-respect. When you protect your time, you communicate that your time has weight. When you decline distractions, you communicate focus. Saying no increases perceived status. Why? Because it shows that you are not desperate for approval. You are selective. Selectivity signals value. Time protection is a power signal. Imagine two professionals. One replies to emails at midnight, accepts every meeting, constantly apologizes for being busy. The other schedules clearly, declines unnecessary meetings, responds with structure and calm. Who appears more valuable? The second person. Not because they are arrogant, but because they treat their time as scarce. If you treat yourself as unlimited, the world treats you as replaceable. This is the core insight. Scarcity does not mean being rude. It means being intentional. Now let's go deeper into positioning. Most people chase opportunities. They chase jobs, clients, attention, relationships. They apply everywhere. They message everyone. They try to convince the world to notice them. But high-value individuals do something different. They position themselves. Positioning means building a profile, skill set, and presence that naturally attracts opportunities. Instead of asking, "Who will hire me?" they ask, "How can I become difficult to ignore?" You do not chase jobs. You position yourself so companies want you. You do not chase clients. You develop a skill and reputation that attracts them. You do not chase validation. You increase competence until validation follows. Positioning is long-term strategy. Chasing is short-term emotion. Now let's discuss energy discipline. Your attention is your most valuable resource. In today's attention economy, distractions are everywhere. Social media, constant notifications, endless messages, low-value conversations. If you commit to everything, you dilute your energy. Overcommitment creates average performance. Energy discipline means choosing carefully where your focus goes. It means limiting unnecessary commitments. It means understanding that every yes to something small may be a no to something important. When you protect your attention, your output improves. When your output improves, your value rises. Scarcity is not just about availability. It is about focused intensity. Be fully present where it matters. Be unavailable where it does not. This combination creates magnetism. And remember, scarcity without skill is useless. If you become unavailable but have nothing valuable to offer, it becomes arrogance. If you protect your time but do not use it to build competence, you create emptiness. Scarcity must be paired with substance. Boundaries must be paired with skill. Positioning must be backed by performance. When you combine these elements, something powerful happens. People begin to perceive you differently. Not because you ask them to, but because your behavior signals value. And perception shapes opportunity. You do not need to shout about your worth. You demonstrate it by how you manage your time, your energy, and your standards. Become rare. Not for attention, for leverage. But scarcity alone will not change your income or your status. You can protect your time perfectly and still remain average. Because scarcity without skill is useless. Scarcity creates attention, but skill creates income. If you want to increase your value in a real, measurable way, you must master a high-value skill. Not a hobby, not random knowledge. A skill the market is willing to pay for. So what is a high-value skill? A high-value skill does three things. It solves expensive problems. It saves time. It generates revenue. Think about this clearly. The more painful or costly the problem, the higher the value of the person who can solve it. If you can help a company increase sales, you are valuable. If you can reduce mistakes, improve efficiency, or build systems, you are valuable. If you can communicate clearly, persuade ethically, manage teams, or create content that attracts customers, you are valuable. The market does not reward busyness. It rewards usefulness. Now here is where many people misunderstand the idea of mastery. They think they must choose one single skill and ignore everything else forever. That used to work in the past. But today, the most powerful strategy is not just one skill. It is a skill stack. A skill stack means combining 2 or 3 complementary skills to create a unique profile. For example, communication plus tech, writing plus marketing, English plus digital tools, sales plus psychology. Individually, each skill may be common, but when combined strategically, they become rare. Imagine 2 people. One knows basic marketing. The other knows marketing and can communicate fluently in English while using AI tools effectively. Who has more opportunities? The second person. Skill stacking increases leverage. This connects to something called the T-shaped model. In simple terms, a T-shaped person has deep expertise in one area and broad understanding across related areas. The vertical line of the T represents depth. The horizontal line represents breadth. For example, your deep skill might be video editing, but you also understand storytelling, basic marketing, and audience psychology. That combination makes you more adaptable and harder to replace. The market rewards versatility anchored in expertise. Now let's talk about how to actually build skill, because watching videos is not enough. There is a concept called deliberate practice, popularized by psychologist Anders Ericsson. He studied world-class performers and found something interesting. Excellence does not come from repetition alone. It comes from focused repetition with feedback. Deliberate practice means you identify a specific weakness. You practice it intentionally. You receive feedback. You adjust and repeat. For example, if you want to improve English speaking, you do not just speak randomly. You record yourself. You listen. You notice pronunciation errors. You practice those specific sounds. You improve one element at a time. Focused repetition builds neural efficiency. Skill grows when attention is specific. Now let's make this practical with a simple system. The 30-to-30 model. Every day, spend 30 minutes learning. Then spend 30 minutes applying. 30 minutes to study. Watch a tutorial. Read a chapter. Analyze examples. 30 minutes to execute. Write something. Build something. Practice something. Learning without application creates illusion. Application without learning creates stagnation. The combination creates growth. If you follow the 30-to-30 model for just 90 days, you will be ahead of most people who only consume information. And here is the deeper truth. Consistency beats intensity. You do not need 10 hours per day. You need daily engagement. Value grows when skill meets consistency. Imagine 2 individuals. One studies intensely for 1 week, then stops. The other studies 1 hour daily for 6 months. The second person will build identity, not just knowledge. Identity is what makes skill permanent. When you combine skill stack strategy, deliberate practice, and daily consistency, something powerful happens. You move from being replaceable to being strategic. You are no longer just an employee. You become the person who can solve this problem. And that changes negotiation power. But skill alone is not enough. You can be highly competent and still struggle if your mindset, presence, and emotional regulation are weak. Because value is not only what you know, it is how you carry it. But skill alone is not enough. You can build skill. You can protect your time. You can position yourself well. But if your mindset is unstable and your presence is weak, your value will never fully land. Because value is not only logical, it is psychological. Let's start with mental strength. At the core of mental power is emotional regulation. In simple neuroscience terms, your brain has 2 important systems in this context: the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. The amygdala reacts quickly. It handles fear, threat, stress. When someone criticizes you, ignores you, or challenges you, the amygdala activates. It wants to defend, attack, or escape. The prefrontal cortex is slower and smarter. It handles reasoning, long-term thinking, strategy, and control. When you react emotionally, the amygdala is in control. When you pause and respond calmly, the prefrontal cortex is leading. High-value individuals train this ability. They remain calm under pressure. Calm is not weakness. Calm is authority. When you can regulate your emotions in stressful moments, you communicate stability. Stability signals competence, and competence increases perceived value. Imagine two professionals receiving criticism in a meeting. One becomes defensive and emotional. The other listens, pauses, and responds with clarity. Even if they have equal skill, the second person will be seen as more capable, because control equals trust. Now let's connect this to silent power. In a noisy world, speaking less creates weight. When you speak constantly, your words lose density. When you observe first and speak strategically, your words gain importance. Strategic communication means you do not speak to fill silence. You speak to move direction. You listen more than you argue. You ask better questions instead of proving yourself. You let others reveal information before revealing your position. Silence is not emptiness. It is information gathering. People often reveal their intentions when you remain calm and attentive. That is power. Now let's discuss presence and appearance. Before you speak, people have already formed an impression. Research shows first impressions happen within seconds. Nonverbal signals carry enormous weight. Posture, eye contact, facial expression, movement speed, all communicate status signals. Posture alone can change perception. Standing upright with relaxed shoulders signals confidence and readiness. Slouched posture signals insecurity or low energy. Your nervous system and your body are connected. When you stand confidently, your brain receives feedback that you are capable. This is called embodied cognition. Your body influences your mental state. Appearance is not about luxury. It is about alignment. When you dress intentionally, groom carefully, and present yourself clean and focused, you communicate self-respect. And people mirror that respect back. Your presence tells a story before your resume does. Now let's talk about attraction versus chasing. When you chase attention, you lower perceived value. Desperation creates imbalance. It signals that you need something more than they need you. But self-sufficiency creates magnetism. When you are focused on growth, common rejection, and secure in your direction, people feel it. They sense that your worth is not dependent on their approval. That is attractive. Attraction in this context is not romantic. It is economic and social. Clients are attracted to confidence. Employers are attracted to clarity. Communities are attracted to emotional stability. You do not need to convince people of your value. You demonstrate it through composure, focus, and self-regulation. Remember this insight. People feel value before they hear it. They sense stability. They sense discipline. They sense whether you are chasing or building. When mindset, silence, and presence align, your value becomes embodied. Now let's talk about the identity shift. Let's close this with something deeper than money. This is not about chasing a higher salary. It is not about proving people wrong. It is not about looking impressive. The real shift is identity. Not, I want more money, but, I am someone who increases value daily. When value becomes identity, growth becomes automatic. You stop asking, how can I get more? And start asking, how can I become more useful? That single shift changes everything. So here is a simple 30-day value system. For the next 30 days, focus on 4 daily actions. First, 1 skill practice daily, even 30 to 60 minutes. Improve your core skill or build your skill stack. No 0 days. Second, enforce 1 boundary. Protect your time. Say no once where you normally say yes. Train yourself to respect your own schedule. Third, 1 mental discipline habit. This could be 10 minutes of silence, journaling, reading, or focused thinking. Strengthen your mind like you strengthen a muscle. Fourth, 1 English improvement action. Read a page. Speak for 5 minutes. Learn 5 new words. Record yourself. Combine skill building with language growth. That is value stacking. You do not need dramatic change. You need consistent elevation. When you repeat these 4 actions daily, something shifts internally. You begin to trust yourself more. You carry yourself differently. You think strategically. You speak clearly. You become harder to ignore, not because you demand attention, but because you radiate competence. If this message resonates with you, choose value over validation. Like if you choose value over validation. Subscribe to Inspire English Stories if you are serious about long-term growth. Comment, I increase my value daily. Remember this. When your value rises, the world adjusts.